Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Right? Okay. Call the meeting to order. Approve the minutes. Have everyone had an opportunity to read over the minutes?
I have.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. And all in favor, raise your right hand, please. Opposed, left hand. It has passed. Squad reports. One is not here. Tammy,
Okay, Rescue 2, this year we've had 258 calls so far. 34 of those have been in September. We've got 2 in refresher class right now, 1 in initial EMR, and 1 new applicant that is a retired general surgeon. So
wow,
we're excited to see what
you running them through
may
EMR?
come out of that.
You going through
That'll
EMR?
be interesting.
We did that. We ran Dr. something a number of years ago through EMR at Fairplay.
Rescue 6, they've had 144 calls this year. Lots of searches been going on that they've been involved in, and Chief Wilbanks didn't send me anything else, so.
Okay, good. And Michael Smith is not with us tonight, but things are going fine with Rescue 5, except we sure could use members. Eric,
Rescue 22. We received our digital radio, and Brian Sheriff's is programming it. So that hopefully will be installed shortly. We completed our yearly radiological training with Smitty. That wasn't too painful. And we're still looking at, making sure we rebrand ourselves. We're trying to refocus and become a little stronger with our incentive. But other than that, everybody's still positive.
good. And 7 and 8 have certainly been busy. We just need to find a way to get more members to attend calls. And we're working on that. Commission reports. Tammy?
The training committee has not met. I'm almost through typing up our last changes to the document and hoping to present to the chiefs at their next meeting to see what they feel like they think about the document, so.
Put it before the commission first, before the chief?
If that's what I need to do. I mean, it's basically the same as what you got before, but if I need to do it before commission first.
It's okay to get comments, and then the commission finalizes it. Okay to get it from the chief's comments, and then the commission will finalize and says, this is what it is.
Okay, and the radio committee, we're having a problem of getting members that were assigned by the 2 commissions to attend and be active in the process of what we're trying to accomplish. A few are doing the most work, which is sometimes the way it usually goes. We have lots of departments and squads getting radios, doing what they should. Nobody else is reporting any more weak areas, so we think that we have all those reported. We're waiting for the Lever Hall receiver to be added and the Salem water tank repeater to be added. And we think that'll make a big difference, at least on the central eastern part of the county. Western part of the county is a different story.
The other receiver was ordered today.
Oh.
I confirmed, but at the end of the day, it's
The test
it's in
one?
the process of that. We don't have a delivery date or anything, but
The Lever Hall one is in, it's
the
waiting.
lever hall's in, we're waiting for install.
That's great.
The other one
Super.
has now been ordered after today's meeting.
That's great. 6-month delivery.
Right?
We're at
Has to
the
come from China.
China, yeah, that's for sure. Okay, Mike Carroll, your report.
Good evening, everybody. Emergency reporting and patient care reports, first thing item on the agenda. Just making sure all personnel, we'll be talking with the chiefs about it. They arriving on the scene first, should be doing a patient care report. If they're primary, responders having patient care. All right, I can come to your company drills and, go over ERS and make sure that people understand what they need to do to report these calls properly. Anybody have any discussion or talk on that?
How does it show up, for us, example, if nobody from rescue runs the call, or we run the call, but somebody from the fire department who's on shift has gotten there first and they have the PCR, and it lists over there where we put it as 0 patients, and that shows up, that, I don't want it to be thought that because we're on scene, we didn't do patient care and we didn't do a PCR. You see what I'm saying?
You would, if they're gonna do primary patient care, they would put them as primary responders, and then on their one PCR, they should add you from another, they can add you as another responder on the scene with a unit.
Okay,
And you can put that in your narrative.
okay,
Say PCR for the fire responder.
okay.
And so as far as Rescue 22, that's gonna be probably our standard, because 17 generally is there first all the time, and since we're only AMRs, AMTs, they're really doing all the PCRs. So it sounds like what Rescue 22 responders need to do is make sure you talk to the 17 responders and say, put us on that report. That's,
Put you down as a, well, see, they're their own entity. So, for us, if they have primary, just get their patient care report. I mean, you're talking about the same, basically the same station with Salem. You guys, they're gonna be doing their own, they're a licensed
right,
agency in the state of South Carolina for EMS. So their PCRs are different from ours because they have their own EMS ID. So, but for y'all to do the same thing, document who was a care provider, primarily it was the unit from 17. You assisted them.
but we still need patient information, like name.
If you're a secondary responder, no.
Yeah, because I guess what I'm trying to say is very typically, 22 is almost 99% of the time a secondary responder. We'll go in and we'll help.
You need to
But-
document what you've done.
Right.
But if you don't have all the patient care information, document that 17 was the primary, you know,
We just
say
made sure.
17 was the primary, patient care responder.
Okay, and that's mostly what we've been doing. We just needed to verify that, because that's just generally the way it happens with us.
So are you saying that they need to do their own PCR?
We have to have a
Their own
PCR.
ERS
Correct,
report?
correct, because it's not in our system.
So that's been my question, is the PCR, how involved does it have to be? Because we may not have,
Well, it may not have to be a PCR.
uh-huh,
It would just be, it has to be a call report. You know,
yeah,
there's a call report, and then you add on a PCR if there was treatment. Now, if you physically did treatment,
right,
you have to do a PCR
PCR.
also, for what you physically did. Now, if you just assisted and everything was assisted, you wouldn't have to.
right.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what happens 75% of the time. It's
Right,
really
yeah.
just assist, and we have very little patient care.
Yep.
But again, now with that PCR report, how detailed does it have to be?
The whole front one, the regular report has to be done.
Yes.
Okay.
If you fall into the PCR, you need to fill out everything
Okay.
that's on the PCR.
Yeah.
And it'll
This
tell
makes-
you, it highlights what's required data.
Yeah.
And if you weren't able to get it, there's a drop-down box that says unable to acquire.
Okay.
It's hard sometimes to decide where that line is drawn between, you know, I just helped and I did just a little more help that needs a PCR done.
Right.
And you
Yeah.
may have to go through the PCR and do not applicable for all the required fields until you get to the one thing that you did. I helped at a cardiac arrest recently, and all I did was bag the patient. Now, did I need to do a PCR?
Technically, yes.
Yeah, I would think so.
That is patient care.
But he is on our report.
Yeah.
He's on the 37,501, so
Right.
everything was
Right.
there.
Yep.
They would have put you as one of the other responders on the scene, and your duties they can assign you
Yeah.
was as doing that.
Well, they-
That's what we're working
They
on.
mentioned me in their narrative in the PCR, but they didn't say what I did.
Okay, we can go back and look at it, and that's what I'm saying, training on learning how you can piece together the same call into the one PCR.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, if they would have just mentioned on there that I bagged the patient, then I wouldn't be saddled with the
Right.
PCR.
Right. And you're coming to our monthly meeting to do the Stop the Bleed, right? This coming month, so maybe
Yes.
that's something you can bring up also
Okay,
for us. But that's, I think.
all right, let's get to physicals and incentives. Looking at where we are right now, there's, on the rescue side of the house, there is under 50 responders that have met the requirements. 50, under 50, I mean, because some people are on duplicate rosters, it's under 50 right now for the rescue side.
Not met
So-
the requirements, you're saying?
No.
No, under 50 have met
Oh, thank you.
the requirements.
Out of how many? 300? 200?
At a rescue, you're looking at about I would say around 125 personnel on the rosters.
What do you find is the most thing that's lacking?
Physicals for the main part, and CPR training. That information has been made, pushed, and acquired. I just recently said, it's not really a rescue department, but Company 11 had a full-blown, everybody did CPR approximately a year ago. Instructor kept the cards and had copies of all the cards, but they were never given to anybody to put in ERS.
Yep.
So, that took care of a lot of rescue, cross-rescue members and special rescue and stuff like that. Just, a lot of people have them, they just need to get them to me, so we can put them in ERS. The report, we gave out the chiefs meeting, all the chiefs got them, and several of the chiefs sent me stuff for their departments and people who are missing stuff. So, I still have these tonight, I'm gonna send them out to the chiefs again via email. And,
Well, they don't have much time to complete physicals.
the last physical is September 28th. We have, is it 20?
I didn't.
I think we have some spots available, but it's probably under 10 spots that are available right now for that, or left. That's the 28th, starting at 4 o'clock at South Union.
Somebody from North Greenville told one of our members who got a physical recently that they could do them in the morning. He was complaining that they had to starve all day, and the answer was, we can do them in the morning.
So,
Maybe it's not, the contract is not written like that.
no, that is not, we were asked to specifically not to do them during the day.
Not everybody.
And we were specifically asked to have it one stop where people don't have to come twice. So we could bring them in where everyone had to come in the morning before they go to work and draw their blood. And then come back to their physical. We were specifically asked, they wanted one stop.
I think they meant do them both in the morning.
No,
Oh, okay.
no, I mean, we were told specifically, no, North Greenville would do it both ways. They'll do it, draw blood and do a physical. They wanted it to be after hours. During the day is not after hours. So the only way we can do it is we start at 4 o'clock to get enough people in. After hours, we start at 4 o'clock and we run into the night. And that allows people that are off during the day to still come during the day some and catch our volunteers that are working to come at night. But it does require them to fast.
What can we do next year so we don't run into this last minute, you haven't had this and that? We have to do something different, because every year we run into.
Chiefs
same.
need to push it every month and put the information in ERS. That's the main thing. Just like 11, we found out they had it, but it was never put in the system. And we don't know if it's not in the system. And, you know,
Well, I recently found out the same thing with 7 and 8 and Fire Station 8. A lot of them were never put in the system because of the way it works now.
yep. And we're going through that, especially this one with the CPR, because the card gets sent directly to the person. It, a lot of times, does not come through the instructor, and we're working through that.
Well,
Anything on, anybody else have anything on incentives?
You know, I've heard this out there, you know, each call's worth 10 points or whatever. You know, that is not the case. Each call is not $10. There's a dollar set, all depending on the number of calls that are written and run for the county. And that kind of sets where that number is, you know, for the incentive money. It's not set.
they
And so-
probably assume that because that's about what it's been for the last few years. Before, not last year, but
A lot, yeah, it was a lot less than that, actually. Yeah.
Are calls included in,
Only calls, not training.
but are calls included in this year's?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. Calls are included in this year's. It is not a flat fee.
okay.
And to get it though, you got
You have to have
in-date
the other,
physical,
Right. CPR.
CPR, 5 hours of training for
rescue.
EMS only, 10 if you're fire, 5 for special rescue and dive.
HR completed.
And
HR.
HR paperwork completed.
And on that, if anybody got a check last year, that means they did not have any HR paperwork. So I got the list of that, and I'll be contacting each of one of the chiefs with a little packet for each one of these members to fill out.
Because they're not held to the September 30th deadline.
No.
Right. Have we decided what we're gonna do about correcting the double calls for the same people?
Yes, we're gonna, every department after October 1st needs to start going through, print off the Form 500 for each member and go through and look at those duplications to get a true number on their squad.
You know, I was thinking about that, and if they just mark what they think is duplicate and turn those into the office.
Yes. We'll be glad to clarify it.
Yep.
But I need a sheet of paper,
Right.
the report 500, so that we can de-conflict the duplication.
Yep.
And this is something when it comes to incentive and all of that. We need to be very careful with falsification of being on calls. If a person is just filling out the paperwork, that doesn't give them points, they're not on that call. They shouldn't be putting themselves on that call to get a point. Because that is falsification of documentation. By saying you responded to that call, by putting yourself on the report, means you were on that call. And that is not the case. That in a court of law, that's falsification of documentation. At the same time, receiving the money for that call is misappropriation of government funds, which is another problem. So we need to make sure it's very clear and we know that the person truly ran that call. And that's something that I think we need to work on and make sure that our paperwork is correct. In some cases, we know that duplication is done accidentally because one department put them on there and then another department ran a call too. we've talked about that multiple times, that you can't run the call for two different departments. You either are the fireman, or you're the rescue department, or you're this rescue squad you can't be part of. Well, just an example, 2 and Rescue 8 running the same call. You're only one person, and there's only one call that you should be on for that. We need to work on that in the future so that we don't have to go back and go, okay, you have to deduct 10 points for this person because they're on 10 calls that are duplicates. That is wrong, and we're finding that out. We need to try to, on a daily basis, continue to work through that.
Until we get to one report, no matter what, I think we're always gonna run into that problem, and I think that it's not done on purpose in many cases. Somebody sees somebody there and
I
they
completely
put their
agree.
name, you know.
I completely agree.
But going over with report number 500 I think is gonna help.
It helps for the incentive. It doesn't help for the process that it is technically, you're being reported on 2 reports, not 1. And that is when we send them to the attorneys, they look at, there's 14 people there and there weren't 14 people there.
I don't know if we're ever gonna be able to fix that as long as we don't have one report because of
Right.
just pure accident,
But that's why we need to, especially on 37-501, we need to work on 1 report.
for sure.
And there's a way, and I don't know if this would help the situation or would make a difference, but you can go in and do like whether they were on standby or what their actual role in that call was. Does that still,
That is fine, as long as you're in the same report. You can't duplicate that person.
Right.
But if a duplicate report was made, you can put every time you put a report, the whole roster is available for that report.
Right.
So when there's a duplicate report, that is where we have accidental, you saw someone, you put them on there, thought there was your department. Special Rescue put them on over here because they were with Special Rescue, not realizing that 2 reports are out there claiming the same person.
well, we finally have ours separated. We've done a decent job, I think, this year of, David came up with a system, and we have a discussion after every call, okay, who's going on fire, who's going on rescue, and we've
Good.
finally got it split
That's
up.
good.
So hopefully ours are gonna be easier to. look at
And that's what we
ourselves.
want. We want to start correcting. We've identified an issue. If more departments looked at it and tried to work through that, that's what we want to try to fix the issue the best we can. And we know that it's going to be a long time to fix it, as long as we're trying to move towards a better direction.
I think with 7 and 8, just because of the way we operate all over the county, there are so many times when people get canceled at route. So we have to take people's word at, you know.
No, yes.
It doesn't seem like they're taking advantage of it.
No, I'm not, I'm not saying people are taking advantage of it. I'm just, I think a lot of it is, there are some that do and the majority do not.
Okay.
All right, moving on. Rescue squad vehicles. Recently had a vehicle go into the garage and need some tires. Looking at it, it was about 4,000 miles past its normal rotation in there. Some of that was because the garage was down for 10 to almost 2 weeks. So I could have had it in the way that vehicle runs, another 500 miles. So just to get this for basically take-home vehicles and vehicles, most of the rescue squads do not use gas cards that transportation sees on fuelmen. So that's how they base when people are due usually. You punch your mileage in, they look at it. Since the rescue squads have their own, I want to try to send out each chief monthly. I know it's quarterly we do it, but we're gonna do it monthly just so we catch them. Vehicle mileage. Just send me back what your vehicle mileages are. I can send that straight to Dwayne at the garage, and they can enter it in so they have a accurate what vehicles are coming up or due, county vehicles, or due for service.
What time of the month do you want that? First week?
We'll probably do it the first of the month. I'll send it out.
I'd suggest picking a date and setting a deadline.
We'll just say first, send it out on the first, have it back by the 5th.
Yeah.
Any discussion on that? We're trying to keep up on the maintenance, making these vehicles last. Keeping the service up to date is a good thing, especially we're looking into tire, making sure tires and get, everything is looked at and inspected by the garage.
Was a mistake made with Mountain Rest vehicle, the tire problem that caused the wreck?
So
Did it not go in for maintenance?
there's no evidence that the tire was the reason of the wreck.
Oh, okay.
There's speculation that that is what happened, but that is not definitive of what happened.
Okay.
Because the tire reinflated, after to drive it, and the tire was within specifications,
Good.
so.
Good.
And that's all I have.
Tammy, you answered most of our, I threw out the training committee because I was just really curious. I think we need to make sure we continue to move down that road and get that document in people's hands. So we can kind of make sure that next year, we're in a place that next year people start and they know what that is starting next year. We can get that done, have an idea, for that. Responder Christmas dinner. Of course, it's been pushed out at the chiefs meetings and those. Please encourage your members. Of course, commissioners are welcome too, for that. And let's make sure that, this is a time that we get to recognize the volunteers. It just happens to be at Christmas time. But, we're gonna bring in, a speaker and some stuff and try to just rejuvenate some people. Give a time to us to say thank you to them. At the same time, have some good camaraderie. We don't get around enough. We're hoping that by that point, this COVID will have laxed a little bit and we'll be free to actually have a big dinner like that again. And we're planning for that. So please encourage your members to get the numbers in so we can start that, process for getting you tickets, for those. And going forward, we have to tell the vendor for feeding how that number is. So every responder, is welcome, with a ticket, and if they have a spouse that is not a responder, we just need to get that number also, but then the squads, individually in the past have chosen to pay for their members, spouses if they choose, and that's a squad decision, for those people to go through. But either way, we need to know a number, as we go through. It is a ticketed event, mainly so that we can make sure that the vendor, they bring a certain number of steaks, and, it's kind of awkward when we don't have enough.
And the checks need to be made payable to the Fire Association,
Yes.
Chiefs Association.
The checks, yes, for the extra,
Extras, yeah.
correct.
Well, county can make some extra check. It's also,
So it's written to the Fire Chiefs Association?
that's for the extra people.
Right.
I forget what it was $15? It was in the,
25.
oh, okay, whatever we sent out.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I thought I had that with me, and I don't have the number that we settled on with me.
I thought I remember seeing 23 at one time.
Okay, 23, yeah. It bounced around a little bit, and so it's in that range. We will get you that number out.
Fine, got it.
I'm sorry, I thought I had it with me, and I did the number.
It went out in Bowen's email.
Yes, it went out in Chief Greer's email.
Are there awards that are gonna be given out during that?
Yes, we'll be doing awards and those things too.
How will what will be the involvement of squads
So-
to do that? Is it gonna be like a
We need to get the responder of the year and the firefighter of the year, and then the commissions will get the write-up, and choose the responder like we have in the past. We'll do that in executive session, because of, That way, everyone doesn't know who it is until, so we.
We
get-
had that discussion the other day, and because of it being before the end of the year,
Right.
whereas it used to be after the first of the year, we still had some extra time, but we just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
that wasn't
Yeah,
missed.
we need to
Right.
start moving on that, yeah. Our squads start needing to move on that.
For the squad member of the year, are we gonna let the squads give us the awards and we present them for the squads
No,
then?
it's just,
Just,
it
okay.
is just those
Just the
that are
national.
the winner of the winner of all the squads won.
I think we decided a few years ago for the squad would give
Yeah.
their member whatever they wanted them to have.
Right.
And then the only thing that commission would give, or county would give, would be the
Responder,
responder of the year.
correct.
Okay.
When would you need the member of the year?
We need that actually done in November so that this commission could, look at those. We really need that by the end of November, the end of October.
End of
sorry,
October.
So that the November meeting, that the commission can make their choice.
So October 31st?
If not, we'll have to do a special meeting.
All right.
And if that's all we do, that's fine, we can support that. We just need to make sure that we, can plan that. Doesn't happen overnight anymore.
Do you wanna send out an email to the rescue chiefs, or should I?
Mike will.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so you're gonna set a date that you would need that nomination?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike, regarding your report on the rescue squad vehicles, as I recall, there was something about people taking them home.
Yeah, it's hard when people take the vehicles home and they're not at the stations that personnel could, check on them there.
There was something about,
We probably need to look at, the chiefs start looking about vehicles that are not being used, bringing them back to the station so that other members can use them. Not just assigned to somebody to take home and they only use it when they're available. Vehicles should be, if they're not in use, needs to come back to the stations so that other members can utilize them.
I was thinking about that. And I can't talk about the other squads, how many members they have, but with Rescue 5, we have such few members that member takes his vehicle home, he may have to go to work for 8 hours and it sits there. But if he brings it into the station, there's nobody else that could come and take it anyway. So in that case, we would be asking him to jump through a lot of hoops for apparently no reason.
I don't think that's the intent. The intent is if there's not a vehicle available at the squad for someone to pick up, we don't need a vehicle sitting at somebody's house that's not being staffed.
Right. But what I'm saying is, if he does bring it to the station and we don't have any members,
Right, but if
But if I'm in Westminster and I wanna run that call, and I wanna
Then
jump in
it-
that vehicle and go.
if they're, then we need to do something. Then the system is failing in that case, if there is no member to pick up, and then we need to say your system is failing, and then maybe we need to do something different. If that's the problem, and it's about one person having a vehicle, that means you only have one person.
well, if we have 5 vehicles, we have 5 people.
Right, well,
Yeah.
but you would have one other vehicle available for anyone to pick up. If you have 5 vehicles and you have 5 people, that's not a problem.
Yep.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about squads that have more than 5 people, they have 2 vehicles, and they're assigned out to people, and the people that can run calls don't have a vehicle to run in if they want to, because they're sitting in someone's house that may not be staffed.
Agreed. Absolutely. But I think that we need more discussion on that, so
Okay.
we can maybe bring it up at the chiefs meeting.
Okay, we can definitely have some good discussion on that.
Anyway, is that all? Scott,
That's what I have for me.
Mike?
That's it for me.
Tammy?
Unmute.
I would like to say thank you to Rescue 22 and Eric. They came up and helped us with rehab on a fire call yesterday, and I appreciate them
Yeah.
doing that to help out, and gonna be using them more.
Well, it was good to feel useful. You know, we've got the
Well,
trailer,
thank
we've got the gear, and so,
I do have one thing. I was able to attend Salem's Fire and Rescue, family cookout over the past weekend. And at that time, I presented Mr. Tom Mertens, who's been with Salem for, Tammy, correct?
I don't remember.
20
No, it's 6 or 7 years maybe.
Oh, I thought it was longer. Has, member of the year for the top responder, or the responder of the year for Oconee County, for rescue. So he was the 2020 responder of the year. Mr. Tom Mertens from Salem Rescue.
That's the one that's being given out at the Christmas party?
That was the one that was,
That was
it
from
didn't go
last
out
year.
last year because of COVID.
Right.
And we didn't get it out, so we felt we wanted to make sure that was a good opportunity to push it out with all of their members there.
are you gonna make mention of that at the Christmas dinner?
Sure.
That,
Yep, we can do that.
Okay, if there's nothing else, would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Would
I'll
anyone
second
like to
the motion.
All in favor, right hand?